Hello and welcome to another episode of VIT Today's series FYI, where we pick an interesting topic and explore it in a short, comprehensive, interesting brief. I'm Shivank, and this is the United States presidential elections, in specificity, the most recent presidential debate. Before we move on to why the presidential debates are important and what happened in this particular one, let's look at what the US presidential election process is, right? The US political system is dominated by just two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, so the president has always belonged to either one of these parties. Now, both of these candidates compete to win electoral college votes, and each state gets a certain number of electoral college votes, partly based on its population, and there are a total of 538 up for grabs. So the winner is the candidate that wins 270 of them. This means voters decide state-level contests rather than the national one, which is why it's possible for a candidate to win the most votes nationally, like Hillary Clinton did in 2016, but still be defeated by the Electoral College. Now, most states lean heavily towards one party or another. So the focus is usually on the dozen or so swing states where either of these parties could possibly win. And this is also where the idea of presidential debates is most relevant. Which brings us to the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. In a highly anticipated and televised broadcast, the first debate began with the question that quite a few people have been bandying about: the Supreme Court majority and the nomination of a conservative judge, Amy Coney Barrett, to fill the seat left vacant by the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. An incredibly crucial issue, with the possibility of it extending to a conservative stranglehold of 6 seats in the Supreme Court, was answered in a typically belligerent Trump fashion. We won the election, and elections have consequences. A bombastic, petty display rife with interruptions and personal attacks and outright lies followed, leaving most viewers dismayed with the consistent loss of American face value across the international community. The debate turned into a chaotic mess, largely because of Trump's constant interruptions, 73 of them. The president consistently interrupted Biden and the moderator Chris Wallace, creating an unproductive stream of crosstalk with little substantive discussion of policy. The night was defined by insults and personal attacks. Trump attacked Biden over the business dealings of his son Hunter and dismissed Biden when he reflected on the loss of his eldest son Beau. In moments of frustration, Biden also criticized Trump as a liar and a clown, even asking him at one point to just shut up. And let's look at some of the key talking points, right? First, coronavirus and the economy. The longest segment of the debate by far, excluding the histrionics, of course. Biden swiped at Trump over the president's early handling of the coronavirus, alleging that the administration started to inform the public of the disease's severity only when it hit the stock market. Do you believe for a moment that he's telling you, in light of all of the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? Biden asked. He still hasn't acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it would be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He panicked or just looked at the stock market, one of the two. Biden added, because guess what? A lot of people died and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker. Trump's response, of course, came not in the form of an answer, rather than him talking about how Biden was near the lower end of his graduating class, and as such, couldn't use the word to refer to anyone. That was the theme that stayed consistent throughout the debate, when we also discussed the second key point, which was the white supremacist violence. While consistently condemning the radical left and Antifa, Donald Trump was exceptionally light on increasingly critical issue of white supremacist violence, with BLM protests still ongoing in several states. Addressing the Proud Boys, Trump told the far-right groups to stand back and stand by. Social media posts indicated that the members of the Proud Boys took the comment as a sign of encouragement from the president. One Proud Boys social media account even posted a photo of the group's logo with the words "Stand back and stand aside." Next, we move on to health and environmental policy, right? Biden, in the short time that he had to actually substantively answer, chose to go with the ideas of the Democratic Party as a whole, rather than to conform to a particular version of the same. When asked about it, Biden replied with, "I am the Democratic Party right now," and that was probably the best exchange we've seen from the former vice president. With respect to electoral integrity and mail-in ballots, we think that a lot of the standard of debate was primarily about rhetoric and old haunting grounds that Trump is still haunting, for lack of a better term. This is not going to end well. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. He also returned to a well-worn attack against the Obama administration for spying on my campaign. And this is something that we're likely to see in further debates if Biden does go through with them. In terms of outcome and reactions, we think in a debate that was the political equivalent of a food fight, the winner is the man who emerged least covered in slop. Joe Biden, on Tuesday night, that was the man, if only because his main goal was to prove to Americans that he could hold up under pressure, that he had not lost a step due to his advancing age, and he had to show that he could take a pie to the face, metaphorically speaking, of course, and keep his cool at the same time. He mostly met the standard, although it was at least in part because of Donald Trump, by his constant hectoring and interruptions, seldom gave the former vice president a chance to say something truly damaging to his own cause, which he's been known to do, to be fair. Trump needed this debate, not Joe Biden. Trump needed this debate to shake up a race that's tilting against him. Biden's lead has remained stable throughout the turmoil on the streets and the economy and the COVID crisis. Nothing about this hour-and-a-half free-for-all seems likely to alter the dynamics of this contest or change the minds of the 1 in 10 American voters who say they're still undecided, although perhaps they'll resolve never to watch one of these ever again.